Hello, my name is Linus today, and I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm here to read the daily reflection for October 18th. It's called An Open Mind. True humility and an open mind can lead us to faith. ... That's from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book, page 33. My alcoholic thinking led me to believe that I could control my drinking, but I couldn't. When I came to AA, I realized that God was speaking to me through my group. My mind was open just enough to know that I needed His help. A real, honest acceptance of AA took more time, but with it came humility. I know how insane I was, and I am extremely grateful to have my sanity restored to me and to be a sober alcoholic. The new sober me is a much better person than I ever could have been without AA, period. That's the end of the reading. I had this thought that I realized that God was thinking to me through my group from today's reading. It is very helpful that even if you don't believe in God, your AA group, the things you hear from them might be helpful. So, if you're trying to do like step 2, which says, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, you could call your AA group your power greater than yourself. And get over that first initial little hump of something that for me was, that was a significant problem, blockage, hurdle in my otherwise, or in a successful recovery from alcoholism. I'll put it that way. So as soon as I just made that tiny adjustment in my thinking that this group of people might possibly be smarter than me and might possibly have a decent answer for this current problem of alcoholism, maybe I could listen to them. Maybe I would listen to them. And so we're in today's reading as it goes on here. Well, actually, just right after that, when I came to AA, I realized that God was speaking to me through my group. My mind was open just enough to know that I needed His help, or let's say their help. A real, honest acceptance of AA took more time, but with it came humility. So, once... I wish I was a brighter guy, or smarter, or more coherent. Because I just had this thought that humility and pride, if you can somehow pick away at that, or chip away at it, test it here and there, or poke at it, shake it, tap on it, whatever, just somehow physically assault this thing called pride. It's very hard. It's very slippery. It's just very hard to, it's impregnable pride, human pride, especially false human pride, I think. But, like a lot of things, like Superman, I don't know a lot about Superman except for he faster than a speeding bullet or a train or whatever and all that. Just incredible power, X-ray vision. He could fly, you know. But there's a drawback to all that. Is that one substance, kryptonite, would render all of Superman's superpowers inoperable, I guess. So if you could somehow, if you're looking to overcome, if you got a Dr. Evil kind of plot in your head, and Superman keeps stopping you, well, then you find out, man, if I just had a lump of kryptonite, I could somehow get kryptonite and Superman together close enough to make Superman inoperable. I can carry out my evil, dastardly plan with success. Okay, so now pride and humility, the pride thing, like I was saying, is a false human pride, I think. This is all just coming to me today, right now, that impregnable, very difficult to attack it or weaken it or speak reason with it or logic. So maybe consider this insanity thing from step 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Maybe just temporarily think, maybe a power greater than ourselves, maybe the AA group, just substitute that in there now, and came to believe that AA could somehow restore humility in my characteristic makeup, or sanity. Power greater than insanity changes to Alcoholics Anonymous and humility. Okay, so that's where I had that thought that I wish I was a brighter, smarter, more coherent guy, but we're just going to keep rolling with this little analogy here that's coming to me. That if you start chipping away at the pride that tells you that you don't need a sponsor, you don't need a power greater than, you don't need AA, you don't need nothing from nobody, and that kind of thing. Here, today's title, an open mind, having a very closed mind about things. So then we just build up everything to work this way, and nothing is going to get in there to change that. And it might be adequate for a lot of things. It might be woefully, pitifully, dangerously inadequate for other things to have a closed mind. So pride kind of does that, I think. That, I'm the answer. I know what's going on. I got all the power. We'll just stop with those. So I don't need you. Or anybody. Or anything. Or on and on it goes. Because pride is number one. Okay. It's so impregnable. Humility, what does it say in the Bible? Something about the meek, meaning like the humble, are going to inherit the earth. Meaning, I think that the prideful, what's the other saying that maybe isn't biblical, but pride comes before the fall, meaning that if you're stumbling through life, I used to say bulldozing through life on your own pride and ego, there's going to be a terrible wreck at some point, and it's going to be your fault. And then maybe some humility might be restored or granted to you, or you might get a glimpse of what being humble is, or what humility is, in a sense that's helpful for you and others. So, let me read this again here. The October 18th reading from the daily reflections. True humility and an open mind can lead us to faith. That's from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book, found on page 33. My alcoholic thinking led me to believe that I could control my drinking, but I couldn't. That's that pride thing again. When I came to AA, I realized that God was speaking to me through my group. That's a good realization to have. My mind was open just enough to know that I needed His help. That's what desperation and the so-called bottom or moment of clarity told me, is that if I don't want to die the next time I open a can of beer innocently enough, I need some help because I'm an out-of-control, untreated alcoholic. My mind was open just enough to know that I needed His help, or their help, AA's help. I needed some help. That was something for me, that I really didn't care where it came from. I needed help. There's a lot more to that, because whether or not I was going to accept it, that's a whole other thing involving pride and humility. So, a real honest acceptance of AA took more time. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I skipped something. I realized God was, when I came to AA, I realized that God was speaking to me through my group. My mind was open just enough to know that I needed His help, or their help. A real honest acceptance of AA took more time, but with it came humility. I know how insane I was, and I am extremely grateful to have my sanity restored to me and to be a sober alcoholic. The new sober me is a much better person than I ever could have been without AA. So what I was just substituting these couple words, pride and I think it was pride and humility, for insanity and I forget. Alcohol kills brain cells, well, lots of things do. Alcohol kills a lot of them at once. And if you keep drinking a lot of alcohol a lot of the time, it kills a lot and a lot and a lot more brain cells. And so it causes some mental damage up here. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. What's that got to do with pride and humility? And overall, what's that got to do with step 10? I don't know yet, but came to believe that a power greater than ourselves, came to believe that AA, or the group of AA people, then people around you at a meeting, could restore you to sanity or clearer, better thinking, or humility would be the primary thing here. According to this, that I'm getting this idea here, my alcoholic thinking led me to believe I could control my drinking. It couldn't. I'm saying that's a prideful thing. Pride comes before the fall. When I came to AA, I realized that God was speaking to me through my group. I liken that to my experience with that. It's like, I don't know anything about God, let's just say that, but these people seem to have something that might be helpful to me. How did they do it? I need to listen to these people. I don't need to actually follow their advice. I'm just going to have an open mind rather than the closed mind. That could be dangerous. I realized that God was speaking to me through my group. My mind was open just enough to know that I needed His help, or my mind was open just enough to know I needed help. Any help from anywhere. And again, doesn't mean I'm going to accept it, follow it, listen to it, but I need help. That's that step 1 thing. Powerless over alcohol and a life that's become unmanageable. The powerlessness thing needs help. A real honest acceptance of AA took more time, but it came with humility. So maybe it was worth it, that the more time it took, that the result was more valuable. because more effort was put forth to obtain it, that result, rather than taking the shortcut. So, pride. I gotta hold this thing up so I can check this clock out. Or get a black background behind me right here. About right there. 15 minutes. Got about 6 more minutes to talk about this and finish my analogy, I hope, successfully about pride and humility. And then if you start chipping away, pride being slippery, impregnable, hard, difficult to attack or reason with in logic, or but it's got a flaw, pride. And I wish I knew exactly. Perfectionism has something being perfect has something to do with it. I don't have time to go all the way down that road yet, or I'll lose this point. That there is some weakness to pride that can be exploited in your benefit. So if pride is killing you through active alcoholism, let's put it that way. And then I mentioned this thing, kryptonite and Superman. Superman is going to wipe you out in Superman's way. But if you're surrounded by kryptonite, he can't touch it. Because Superman doesn't work near kryptonite. Let's say alcoholism now is a very prideful disease, and it's propelled or increased or made worse by pride, and it won't be able to operate as well if somehow you become more humble and practice humility in a good way, implying there's probably a wrong way or a bad way of using humility, which I just need to leave that aside here. Because humility here, okay, now alcoholism is Superman, let's put it that way, and kryptonite is Alcoholics Anonymous, or humility. Superman is pride and alcoholism, and kryptonite is Alcoholics Anonymous and humility. I think. Is that complete? We got pride and humility, Superman, kryptonite, disabling, killing, chronic disease that's getting worse, and the victim or patient will not accept that because of pride. Okay. When I came to AA, I realized that God was speaking to me through my group. My mind was open just enough to know that I needed His help. A real, honest acceptance of AA took more time, but with it came humility. I know how insane I was, or prideful, and I am extremely grateful to have my sanity, or humility, restored to me, and to be a sober or humble recovering alcoholic. The new sober me is a much better person than I ever could have been without AA. I want to argue with that because it uses the word ever. A lucky enough monkey drinking a bunch of booze might actually somehow become a better person than somebody that's not in AA. That's kind of the opposite of, or an arguing point, that the new sober me is a much better person than I ever could have been without AA. I agree with the sentiment. I know that I'm a better person in many different ways for having found Alcoholics Anonymous, participating in Alcoholics Anonymous, and then actually trying to, like in step 12, I'm going to run out of time, right? 20 minutes. Step 12, the last part here, practice these principles in all my affairs. That's a lot like the help thing, understanding you need help, and then actually following the advice or the help given, or accepting the help granted to you. So I'm going to have to hang it up here. I couldn't make the connection to the daily inventory and the step 10. Thank you. Goodbye.